It all started back in 1807 with the movement of the Jacobs family across the Ohio River and into what would become Illinois. Since the Northwest Ordinance, which opened up these fertile lands, also stopped the usage of slaves in these territories, it was a hard life, but certain men were able to prosper. Mr. Jacobs started a factory near a growing little town that became known as Chicago and had two sons. Morgan was born in 1809, and his brother Mark came around 2 years later. When Illinois joined the Union in 1818, they had the distinct disadvantage, like many other northern states, of not having slaves to count towards the census. Although the Constitution seemed to embrace slavery with a three-fifths compromise, the Northwest Ordinance's ban on slavery of the Northwest U.S. continued to be enforced, leaving some tension about the legality and morality of slavery, if every man was in fact created equal. Anyways, as Mark grew up, he knew that his father would give the growing factory complex to his older brother when he died. He was forced to go south to seek his own fortune in the world.
I need to have a word.
Is there a problem, Mr. Fournier?
I'll say there is. The crop is half what it should be this year and hasn't been picked yet. The cotton gin makes it worth its weight in gold.
The slaves are working pretty hard, sir. I'm not sure how much more they can take.
We'll make them work harder, I'll have your head.
Of course, sir.
Or better yet, I'll have you work the cotton gin. You better be glad we got that blasted thing, or I'd have you picking seeds out by hand.
How dare you? That's the slaves' job. Slaves have been doing it practically since we got here. You'd be the one on the chopping block if you tried to force me. Turner, hear my voice.
Who is that?
Listen to only the sound of my voice.
What do you want?
I need you to do something. I need you to start a revolt.
Serious? What kind of idea is that?
Listen to me, dang it. Find as many men as you can and kill any white men you come across.
Are you serious? I read all about the last two who tried. They failed. Denmark was ratted out by a fellow slave. Same as Gabriel. Things went south and he was found out. They were both literate too. Heck, Denmark wasn't even a slave. How can you say the same will not happen to me?
Don't make the same mistake they did. The others look up to you. You're a natural-born leader.
Sir, there's only 60 or 70 men I can find. Surely not enough for a rebellion.
Trust me, it'll work. Now know the perfect plantation to start it at. Mr. Calhoun.
I heard a nice job he did putting down that slave rebellion. I just wish you could do the same thing with people like Jackson.
But you can, sir. The South is ready for war. South Carolina can lead the way in the new fight for independence. Washington's name will fade and be replaced with Calhoun.
Are you crazy? We need to be outgunned, outmanned, and I doubt these western states would join us. We would need to find a way to right the rest of the South behind us completely if we were to stand a chance. We would need to find a way to unite the rest of the South to be behind us completely. But by then, this whole thing will be over anyways.
Jefferson and Madison declared they were sovereign to the federal government, and they lived to tell about it. The cowards wouldn't dare touch them.
But those resolutions of theirs don't change anything. The states still don't have the power that belongs to us. Just because the Northerners want high tariffs that destroy our economy doesn't mean that everyone else wants them to.
Then do something about it. If the states enter the Union willfully, can't they leave willfully as well? If you don't like what the federal government says, you don't have to do it.
You might just be onto something right there.
Did you hear about the gag resolution?
Yeah, I don't have any idea why it was passed. It makes us like a bunch of hooligans who don't even know what's going on.
Are you being serious?
The cause of abolition must be heard by Congress.
You seriously have less than an ounce of knowledge if you truly believe that.
Slavery needs to end. It is not important at all to this country.
Slavery is a necessary evil. Without it, the South ceases to exist.
Just the way it should be.
Uncle Tom's Cabin misportrayed the South.
That may be, but even so, did you hear about Frederick Douglass' speech? It is incredibly telling in its matter. His experience conveys the true nature of slavery. Even William Lloyd Garrison and his anti-slavery society haven't gone far enough.
Haven't gone far enough. At least the American Colonization Society offered to pay the slave owners for their slaves.
Those Quakers were always scared of war. They were cowards. I guess I like them so much. Are you sure he was here?
Yes, sir. We were on the hunt for some of them fugitive slaves when we ran across them. He even told us where to find some of them vermins. Of course, when we found them, we got in a big fight with some of them abolitionists they were held up with.
I see. This compromise seems to have made more problems than solutions with the question of slavery up in the air in the Southwest and the issues with the Fugitive Slave Trade Act.
Well, business is business.
And war's war.
Right, profitable thing, too. We get to take all the gold and silver in New Mexico and California from those dirty Mexicans.
Of course. Excuse me, Mr. Douglas.
Yes, Mr.
Archer, I have a question I'd like to ask you.
Of course. Would you like to question my stance on popular sovereignty for the states? Or how Lincoln is a awful, no-good abolitionist who wants to tear this country apart with his blasphemous, biased Republican lies? I thought I made those points clear when I beat him in race for the Senate, when I won for the great state of Illinois.
Oh, yes. I heard he had a lot of great points about the spread of slavery and how popular sovereignty was destroying Kansas. But no, that's not my business here. I'm here to ask you about a man named Jacobs.
Ah, yes, a very influential young man. Did you know he is now one of the largest factory owners in Illinois, since he inherited his father's company?
Yes, I did.
We talked at great length about how the Dred Scott decision took away the rights of the states and the people. It's the states' right to regulate slavery, not the Congress, and definitely not some Supreme Court. Why, he was so infuriated, he made me want to pick up my gun and march to the doors of Taney's house myself.
He seems to have kind of an effect on people. Look, Mr. Douglas, I need to find him. It's very urgent, and I'd really appreciate your help.
Well, looks like we'll have to come to some sort of agreement. My party is split on the issue of slavery. Breckinridge is stealing my Southern support. Lincoln cannot be allowed to win in the 1860 election, or he and his abolitionist ideas will tear this country apart. South's fears would prove true, and war would ensue. I tell you what, vote for me in the upcoming election, and I'll tell you where your man ran off to.
Sure, whatever.
Splendid. He told me the night before he left that he had some business to attend to in Kansas.
There you are.
There's nothing you can do to stop it.
Stop what? They're here to bring you back for the crimes you committed.
There will be war, Mr. Archer. Ever since the Kansas-Nebraska Act ended the Missouri Compromise, I have known it to be true. Although once clearly defined, the borders between North and South have been blurred. War was inevitable.
What are you talking about?
Abolitionists like Talmage tried to stop the spread of slavery with their amendments, but it meant fierce opposition. The South couldn't have their entire economy destroyed because of a silly thing like morals. Well, slavery spread from state to state, and with each new state the tensions increased until you have what you have now. Bloody Kansas.
But why?
Don't you see? Wars need guns. Guns come from factories. The North will no doubt win because of their factories, like mine, and us factory owners will make a tidy fortune.
I'll take him to jail before this war ever happens.
It has already begun. People are murdering each other in Kansas. Lawrence was ransacked. Brown murdered pro-slavery supporters and then went on to attack a federal arsenal. Robert Lee himself had to come and stop him. North versus South, slavery versus free. Even the politicians have begun to beat each other like dogs over the issue. Just look at Brooks and Sumner.
But they've already made compromises on slavery. They can do it again.
But those compromises don't identify the underlying problem, the economic differences between North and South. You can't have an agricultural and rural people treated the same way as those that live in cities and rely on industry.
You're a madman. I promise you that this war here in Kansas will not be allowed to spread.
We'll see.
Let's go.